Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. Episode 238, post UFC 243 pay-per-view out of Australia. It was an 11-card bout. We had a lot of movement in the UFC. We got brand new champions. Here, we've been cutting it a little differently up, as we've been saying. Thank you for coming back and meeting us again to go over that for about 10 minutes. We're going to go over a bit of Twitterverse stuff. Then we're going to get heavy duty into this card for ESPN Plus here in Florida, Tampa. Before all that, how were you? How'd you do last week? We had a pay-per-view. Hot fire.
I didn't do as bad as the week before, but it wasn't great. 7 of however many fights there were.
11.
7 of 11.
Not bad at all. Above 50% easily.
I know it's a shame because, you know, everybody out there that were doing the Fight Pick Championships, it's a shame we weren't doing the whole card. Because it wasn't a bad night overall, but that main event is what really hurt me. Or not the main event. I did great on that, but the main card. Yeah.
The main pay-per-view card, which we will eventually get to. Real quick, we had Taha coming in, arm triangle over Silva. That was the beginner of the night. Can't really take too much away from, well, I like what I saw from Taha. It's Silva, Cejudo's boy. We can't really regard him right now because he looked absolutely horrible in there. Really gassed out pretty badly. Again, they can fight anybody. I didn't really take much away other than Taha was highly priced and didn't really pay it off even with the finish. I don't think he only got 77 points.
Night. It's that first fight of the night. Stay away.
Always tends to be the best call. Did you take anything from that first one?
No need to.
The second one ended up being a TKO for Ji Young Kim over Nadia Kassem. The local ended up getting, beat apart, essentially getting saved by the ref in, was it the first or second round where their mouthpiece fell out in a flurry, where the ref came in, broke it up, and pretty egregious reffing, giving the native, the local there, every chance. But, Kim teed off on her. I think people need to be a little more tentative, though, moving forward with Kim still, because Kassem might be just that bad, where we're like, whoa, Kim could be a contender. No, she beat Nadia Kassem. Not that big of a deal.
Agree.
Then we ended up having Megan Anderson, the biggest favorite of the night, submission choke in Faria. That was a plus 1,400 prop bet. I didn't touch it. And, the same can be said for Kim as for Megan Anderson. Who's Faria? What can you take from it? Absolutely nothing. She doesn't have an evolved ground game because Fern there.
Zara Farn.
Farn Dos Santos is definitely not UFC caliber. So Megan Anderson barely holding on to a job as far as I'm concerned.
With the submission, that was the only
surprising
thing. But she did call out Amanda Nunes after. Let's just try to win 2 in a row. Can we?
Exactly.
I know people are like, well, she beat Kat Zingano.
In a bit, that was one of the flukier times you're ever going to see a finish in there. So definitely do be careful moving forward with Anderson. She's still not proven a thing in there. Then we ended up having fight of the night with a double debut. We had the local city kickboxing guy come in against Malarkey, Jamie Malarkey himself. Both of these boys are now my boys. I'm going to be watching them, liking everything I get from them. Malarkey did get hit a little bit more, but he was never not in that fight. He hurt Riddle a few times in there. That ear was about to pop from the second round on. But the great footwork, that's definitely about that is a contender for fight of the year. People won't think about it later on because there are 2 prospect guys, new guys in there. But just look back at that finishing punch when they're both on their knees. And then that interview, Riddle couldn't talk. And there was a good reason. They were asking him stuff and he's just, yeah, one-word answers just like, dude, did you see what I did in there?
He left it all in there. They gave it all. It was an amazing fight, and I think Malarkey, still pay attention to him going up. A lot of guys won't be able to beat him. Brad Riddle loved everything, and he really set off his camp's night.
Really agreed. Set the tone for that.
And if you guys get the chance, watch him backstage. Watch him. You can see Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and all the other guys. Watch Brad Riddle's fight, and it's touching. It's like a team, family. It's cute.
Sure, definitely. You see them ducking and dodging as they're swinging away in there. But I like what you're saying. Malarkey is somebody who's going to be able to beat a lot of other guys in there with his will, because that was next level what we saw in there. Rest up, boys. We'll see you soon enough. Then we moved on to one of the bigger underdogs of the night. We had Micah Patillo come in against Callan Potter. I had Patillo everywhere on DraftKings. This is where I officially shit in bed. I mean, we're seeing one of these Contender Series guys come out, have gas tank for half of a first round, and then completely be shot. I mean, Patillo was throwing punches and leaving his head straight on the line and getting hit by everything from Potter. So good for him, Callan Potter, but I don't like either guy moving forward, honestly. After this fight.
I think we need to go back to giving the veterans their due, because it's just happening again and again and again. Like you're saying, contender people, but they're going against veterans that, especially like this, where we talk about being juiced. Like he's like, stick it all in me, stick it all in me. I need to win this fight in front of my home peeps, but he should have retired.
Truth. Very, very, and this is Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. But high win and just be like, all right, I'm out, boys. So moving forward, not liking anything from Micah unless he makes a big camp switch potentially. And Callan Potter, going to be really tentative on moving forward with him. Then we ended up having Jake Matthews get a decision over Askman, the hairiest man in the UFC. I saw pictures of him side by side with a few other hairy men. Askman beat them all. Easily beat them all. I mean, the twirl in his lower back hair just had a gleam that was like, blah!
He had that Robin Williams suit on.
It was gnarly. I was pretty surprised that Matthews couldn't get it done in there. Thought he should have been the better fighter all the way around. So good for Askam to take it to a decision, or maybe bad for Matthews for taking it to decision. So still tentative either
That's
guy.
what I had. I thought Matthews would finish decision. That's exactly. I just I don't think Matthews is a finisher.
We're seeing it more and more. Then we ended up having the pay-per-view start off with a split-up fight here at LaTB, where we had Jorgen de Castro coming in, debuting against Justin Tafa, the other debuting fighter. We knew they were going to be heavyweights. We said have exposure regardless to this fight because somebody's getting finished, and it only took one round. Jorgen de Castro getting it done in there. Don't get it twisted, though. I don't think Tafa is necessarily even UFC caliber at all in there. So Tafa has got many, many tougher fights in there. But in the division of heavyweights right now, I think Jorgen de Castro could be a sneaky underdog if he stays an underdog against a lot of other people.
We just talk about all the city kickboxing guys winning. We should talk about all the, whatever their tribe is, Tafa's tribe. They all lost.
The KFC, the Mark Hunt clan.
Yeah.
And we actually, I thought, kind of alluded a little bit to this. Like, hey, remember last time they all lost? They all lost. And it's been twice we've gone to Australia.
I think they're all overrated, and it'll be hard pressed for me to pick any of these guys ever again. It's
their personalities. Love Ty personality. Love Pedro's personality. But
agree.
You got to get it done in the cage in there. So Tafa showing that elite striking, walking into a punch. Walk-off home run punch for de Castro. Loving everything I'm seeing from that young man in there.
I'm going to avoid them both like the plague in the future.
Then we ended up having Diego Lima come in and get a controversial split decision over Luke Jimu, the Jedi, putting all sorts of mind tricks on the judges in here, because this is probably the second time, maybe the first, that I've ever heard a fighter winning the fight and still contesting the split decision, because there is no way in hell Jimu won 3 of those rounds at all. Even 2. Maybe 1. And I saw 29-28 easily for Lima, but 30-27 Jimu is very, very wrong. So hometown favorite, having a little bit of cooking in there. So glad Lima got it done in there. But
agree. I had it that way. I had it 29-28 Lima. Tis what it is,
exactly.
But not 30-27 either way, especially not Jimu.
Then we moved on to the heavyweights, where Spivak came in as a huge underdog against Tai Tuivasa. We were just talking about this. When they get on the ground, all these guys, mega deficiencies, first rounders, all of these Mark Hunt guys as well, wherever they're kickboxing out of. I can't think of the exact camp's name, but I mean, Spivak weighed through the big punches initially, got it to the ground, and then just dominated. And don't think Spivak literally might get a ranking after this type of a win, but he won't deserve it. It's all name value. So that's 3 in a row for Tai Tuivasa. That whole camp's not doing good in the heavyweight division. I'm going to be fading that camp pretty much this point on, as you were saying. And Spivak still going to be probably fading moving forward.
I like Spivak, and I liked his body going into this fight. I thought he was so well proportioned at heavyweight to be the size that he is. And I mean, we didn't get to see a ton of his skill sets in there, but he was so dominant, and he's pretty young. I'm curious. I think Sergi could be a sneaky underdog going forward.
That weight being about 233 is what he weighed in officially, so that's that Cain Velasquez-Stipe weight, where athleticism is more than the frame.
Or even Adesanya versus Whitaker weight. You know, like Adesanya weighed in at 183 with his pants on. And
that is correct. But before that, we ended up having the co-main event with Dan Hooker against Al Iaquinta, the plus money puesta, not coming through, unfortunately, here. All I can say is Al Iaquinta makes people's jabs look amazing in there, and the plus monies are at least big and fat and juicy. We're not giving you plus 105 type of bets out here. We're giving you plus 160s, plus 185s, plus 200s. So.
Dare I say, I wish I would have changed this. And my instinct was when I watched weigh-ins to go with Dan. He was so
big,
large compared to, and he's such a young guy. Gosh, I really liked everything I saw from Dan Hooker in there. And I think Al's hit his high water mark. We're not going to... Al's not really busy in there. He keeps plodding forward. He takes a lot to the face. There's been certain fights now that I'm like, oh, maybe he's luring Khabib to hit him in the face because he's setting him up for something. And now I just watch Al like, nope, he just takes him right in the face. He just plots forward and doesn't do too much. And I'm just not impressed with Al anymore. I like his person. He's a personality guy. I love him outside the octagon. But Dan Hooker is all business in there. And God, I think he could make a run one day at 155. I'd like to see him against a wrestler, like somebody super heavy with takedowns, like Islam Makhachev, who's been calling him out on Twitter. But
we have Dan Hooker actually calling out
Dustin Poirier.
Poirier, he's telling him to not chase leprechauns. Don't go chasing leprechauns. So... Dan Hooker, I mean, putting on a clinic in here, City Kickboxing being put on the map.
I hate to put down Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker calling out Dustin Poirier is the exact idea of Dustin Poirier calling out McGregor. It's that big of a step up. So nothing against Dan Hooker, just not because I don't think his skill set's there, but just one more fight. I know we fought Barboza, who's up there, and I know Diamond, but I just think Diamond's in that, like, BMF star money range that he doesn't need to fight dangerous guys like Dan Hooker. I think you said it, though. I think that's a Cowboy Cerrone fight. Even though Cowboy's one of those guys, too, he's just more likely to be like, yeah, I'll take it.
That's a hell of a fight if we got Hooker versus Cerrone.
But I like Islam because that is such
wrestling.
An interesting style, yeah.
Definitely. So, liking what we're seeing in the progression of Daniel Hooker, he's still got a while left in there, so it's going to be fun. But I like what you're saying with Al. He's someone that the personality, I got to realize that and, start to really back off there. Then we ended up having the changing of the guard. We had the Stylebender come in and whip up the Reaper real quick, fast, and in a hurry. In all of 2 rounds, we had Israel Adesanya putting on a clinic. I mean, he came out, set the range, stayed at range. I was really hoping that Whitaker was going to bring in all those wrestling credentials I was hearing about, all that national team stuff, all that Olympic wrestling. And we had Whitaker actually going hip to hip multiple times with Israel Adesanya, where if that was collegiate or any type of grappling, as soon as my hips touching yours, that means I can grab your body. I'm not letting you go after that. And Whitaker would just hop back out into range and then get hit with a nasty little combination. So Whitaker would just content with striking with the striker. This is MMA, buddy. I love you, Robert Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles. I'm going to still be in your corner. You're 28 years old. You're going to have a long career still ahead of you, but game plan in here didn't work out. City Kickboxing being put on the map. Absolute clinic. Loved everything. You had it right. You had Israel Adesanya coming through. Great call.
He put this... anyone who thinks Robert Whittaker was winning that first round until he was knocked down is totally biased because the commentators were making it seem that way. If you rewatch that fight, Adesanya did not get hit by nearly the amount of times. And if the leg kicks, they weren't counting as much. He also stingered up Robbie Whittaker's leg that we were saying, did he break his ankle already? Like, very first round, he wasn't putting weight down on his foot, and we thought, oh, this is going to be trouble. Then the knockdown. Ugh. Right in the mic. I had to go back to the mic.
Choked her up just reminiscing.
But I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Stylebender, and I know he has a lot of haters out there, but how can you not love everything he did, including his walk-in? Yeah, I'm saying it. Including his walk-in.
I have mixed feelings about this because I'm totally okay with it, but I just don't. I want there to be a limit set where it is your walkout cannot be longer than 30 seconds.
Well, I think the limit is you have to be a fucking main event. It's not for every asshat in the UFC. Like, it has to be something that you've earned the right to do it. Like, the main event. That's the only time it all goes dark in the octagon or in the arena if you've ever been in there. That's the only time the lights all come around when they're introducing. That's when you do it. I think anyone, I don't care what they do, they keep wanting the pay to be like boxing.
What if they were to do it, though, where it was like Sinead O'Connor doing her anthem and then Gloria Silverstein or someone doing the American anthem, and then you get some other crazy song and dance? Like, it could turn into a 15-minute event just to get out there, and I'm like, oh, let's go. I want to see blood. So I just am a little hesitant that it gets overly prolonged. I agree. Only certain people should allow it, but I do not want it to get just too much where we got that's a whole nother conversation, I guess, and the burning out. So, anything left from the pay-per-view, the changing of the guard, all of the fun stuff we had out of Australia?
No, we just have to give a shout out to this week, the Fight Pick Championships, if you're following along. MMA marks, both 1 and 2. Ricky got first and Buddy got second.
Wowza. Wowza, wowza. Luckily, we got another week right around the corner. We can redeem ourselves, totally come back, and we got 14, I said, 14 bouts to come back, get back on the top board.
We went way over this time.
Oh, no. Oh, no, wait.
Gosh, we can't do it. We can't keep it in 10 minutes.
We're trying. It was a good stretch in there. But either way, these 14 bouts coming out of Tampa, Florida, could be 13 because we've had all sorts of news dropping, all sorts of Twitterverse going. As of this morning, the bout was called off. Then it was back on. JJ's getting all over that Insta. Waterson's not taking a fight. If you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, you don't know that JJ supposedly told the UFC about a week ago that she didn't think she was going to be able to make weight. And they were tentative about this fight. Angela Hill officially...
Is it from the fake Ariel Helwani account?
Right? Not a bad... I saw a couple other organizations also saying that it's just on thin ice in Jeopardy, and then maybe some of us fans jumped the gun and said it was officially off. JJ officially telling us on Insta, I haven't missed a weigh-in yet. Well, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The fans coming in talking about a double dose of extra poundage on there. Those chesticles finally coming into play. How do you feel about that entire sitch?
Now that I know it's not real, I'm not going to put any energy toward it, and I just feel like we're all being trolled. Because I want to see JJ versus Michelle. I don't want it to be canceled. I know it's getting a lot of hate as a main event, but both ladies have earned their name value. No offense to Kron, but over him...
1,000,000% agree there. They've both fought enough times to be the headliners in this bout. And there's even undercards that could be headliners. But you got my vote. If you know who I'm voting for, Dorino, Platinum Perry, let's go Gilbert Burns, Platinum Mike Perry, coming in to save the day, interim BMF title bout to headline the card. What else do you want? What else do you want, fans?
I don't think either of those people are BMF.
After that nose?
Yeah, I don't think either of it. I think to do it, you have to be in the UFC for a really long time, fight top-of-the-line guys, have some kind of name value. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about leaving it all in there every time. And I love Gilbert Burns, but he doesn't even register. He wouldn't even be on the top 20 of the guys even in this
He's just hot
division.
right now. He's just so hot right now.
I bet you half our audience is like, who's Gilbert Burns? Mike Perry. It's weird he's a BMF, but he's one of those guys we were just talking about, personality. He's one of those guys that, you know, like a Taya Tuivasa that you...
Skills don't meet up all the time necessarily.
Yeah.
Hey,
but he is looking better and better in there every time.
Exactly, and it would be a fun fight anyways. But before we even get into that main event, before we get all the way there, we got to start from the bottom to the top. And it always starts... or it's going to start here out of Tampa, Florida. With the ladies, we have JJ Aldridge coming in against Lauren Mueller. Mueller coming in off of a loss, her last fight. And JJ Aldridge does as well.
Last two fights. Or wait, JJ lost one, but Lauren's lost her last two.
I ended up getting a little screen heavy here. We do have Mueller losing to Yan, who was a white belt at the time. And then as of late... to Botello, who I think both of those ladies, maybe not Yan as much, barely UFC caliber. Mueller coming in with those wrestling credentials, grappling, hasn't really showed it, just not shown that she likes to take a punch too much, but again, who really does in there? If she gets on the ground, she's mainly a top player. Off of her back, not good at all, and gives up submissions fairly easily. I did not like what I'm seeing from Mueller coming out of California, San Diego. JJ Aldridge, her last loss being 7-3 to Macy Barber, who's a little up-and-comer. She had Macy Barber all sorts of hurt in that first round. Go back and watch it. Barber was panicking for a split second, like, oh shit, this lady hits hard. Aldridge has been training for a long time over with Rose Namajunas, all that crew up there, freaking Gaethje, all of those boys. But, I mean, great combinations, hard punches down the middle, good off of her back. On top, she's even better with elbows. The thing with Aldridge is her gas tank is a little bit iffy, and at times when she eats a little damage, there is a bit of that wilt in her as well. But I think if there's someone to fold up shop, Mueller, I've kind of seen do it faster against lower competition. So I got actually Aldridge coming through with the victory. Give me the favorite here. TKO round number 2. I think elbows get it done in the second round. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I'm going with JJ by decision. I don't see her having the power like that to necessarily just clean out finish, but I think she's an amazing fighter, and I like everything she's putting together in there every time. I know this is a usual stay away, but I feel like JJ throws a lot of hands. I may be crazy here, but I think the odds are kind of dead on too. I think she should be the favorite, almost 2-1 against Mueller. Seems about right. I think it's a one-sided 30-27 decision. JJ. The first JJ of the night, Aldridge.
Aldridge, that is interesting in there, but Aldridge is the -170 favorite. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,900 for Aldridge against Mueller, $7,300, the +140 underdog.
No.
Yeah, I don't like Mueller anywhere there. I could see myself getting about 10% on Aldridge.
I think the other way. I feel like I might, because I see it going to decision, I kind of like Lauren Mueller a little more for the price. I think if you can get JJ for under 8.4, maybe, but over that, it's just not a guarantee. First fight of the night, women's 115, not enough points. Not enough points. So
Definitely.
I go back on what I just said.
So, if you want to follow last week's rule and big fat stay away, it usually 9 times out of 10 works out as far as DraftKings. 9 times out of 10.
You're never upset either way. You're always like, ooh, I'm glad I stayed away from that.
Exactly. So then we ended up moving over to 185 pounds where we have Marvin Vettori versus Andrew Sanchez. This is a moved over bout from about 2 weeks ago where we had the Dirty Sanchez getting all sorts of pink eye in there. We had 2 bouts almost. And with Gaethje coming in with an eye infection, but officially Andrew Sanchez was pulled off the card. All sorts of swollen eyes in there, but this we've broken down before, and I don't feel like my pick has really changed too different from that, where Sanchez doesn't have the best chin. He always gasses late in the third, where Vettori will give up a round, but can still swing hard and heavy by that third round. And in that third round, I feel like we still have Vettori coming through with a finish. I think it can also happen elbows in the guard potentially over Sanchez. He just fades too hard for me. At distance striking in there, it's going to be iffy, but I still give Vettori a lot more advantages. Give me Vettori, the big favorite here over Andrew Sanchez. Who do you have and why?
Ugh, I don't know if he should be a big favorite. I think they're pretty even Steven. I think the caliber of fighter... I guess everyone would be like, oh, Marvin Vettori, he did fight the champ to,
Decision.
Decision. A nasty split. It was probably the most adversity now looking back that he's been in there. I guess people would say Kelvin, maybe. Gosh, I kind of like Andrew Sanchez. He seems to have been doing everything right for me going out, but I don't like how heavy of an underdog he is. Makes me kind of nervous at this weight. But Marvin Vettori, he ain't never throwing heavy hands. When's the last time you can remember Marvin Vettori knocking anybody out? I feel like Andrew Sanchez is getting a ton of hate right here because he got knocked out by Ryan James. Because this other one, Anthony Smith, you're like, okay, well, Anthony Smith might do that to people. Marvin Vettori is going to have the better cardio here. I give the power to El Dirty. I think this is closer fight. I'm going to go Vettori decision because of that cardio. But I don't see him being 3-1 favorite. That's crazy.
I agree. I do think it's a little bit steep. Minus 305 for the favorite. 8,000 or 9,500 on DraftKings. One of the heaviest price fighters against Andrew Dirty Sanchez is 6,700 at a plus 235. I totally agree. It's too much. Even though I have a finish, I like what you're saying with that decision. I think it's all dependent on the takedowns. I can't play Vettori for that. That's too much. And Andrew Sanchez, I'm going to probably end up staying away from. But the line's off. The line's off in that one. Anything left with those two gentlemen early off in the night?
No, I can see myself speckling Andrew Sanchez in there. I don't see him getting finished. And I think he has just as much of a shot here. Vettori's kind of been overrated from the get, and his record looks speckled.
At 6,700 with an average of 75 points for Andrew Sanchez, it's not bad. It's not a bad call there compared to the 9.5 for Vettori when he averaged only 61 points.
Do that on your whatever your cheap card is or cheap cards. Put Andrew Sanchez on one. And I would stay away from Vettori.
I would probably stay away from Vettori. I'm going to have 10%
I like your
10%.
10%. 10% Vettori. I think 10%, 10%.
I agree. I was actually going to say probably 10 because you're going to be able to put Sanchez and then whoever the hell else you want in there.
And the lines are off, don't you think?
The line's off there.
Maybe if you want to go
close.
2-1, but I don't even see that. I see like 150.
Vettori is a decision fighter. Vettori is a decision fighter. I think that's a great call out in that spot. Then we move on to welterweight, where we have Hector Aldana coming in against debuting fighter Miguel Beza. Beza coming off of the Contender Series, being a perfect 7-0, getting a decision, and still getting that contract in there. He did pummel his opponent in there, but couldn't get him out of there. Coming in against the veteran 4-2, last 3 losses in a row he's had. Hector Aldana at 170. Aldana just super low output, serviceable striking, ground game, not really there, takedown defense, iffy at that. Beza coming in with a big body attack, okay cardio. I'm just really scorned off of that Patillo fight last week, and really, as we were saying with these contender guys, that even though Hector Aldana is a low-level 170-pounder in there, he's fought multiple times UFC caliber opponents, which is a lot more than Miguel can say in there. So I'm going to be super tentative. I'm going to give it a decision. Beza, I see a lot of people picking a finish because Aldana really isn't that caliber, but still, got to give him that respect so that reason. I'm backing off of Beza a little bit more. I really got scored last week, and I think it's playing through. Give me a decision, Beza here. There's going to be probably a stay away in general for me. Who do you have in this fight?
I agree completely. It's almost like the lines are swaying me. Otherwise, I might have a Hector Aldana decision. I don't know anything about this kid, and when you look at the people he's gone against, the records aren't great. I never heard of MMA Masters before. Maybe they're really huge and I just don't know about Beza.
Yeah, they got legit people. I think they're out of Brazil. No, I'm wrong. I thought they were out of Florida. There's some other fighters out of Masters for sure.
Yeah, I never heard of it. But Hector Aldana, he's never really stepped up to the game. So I'm going to go with Beza decision. I'm probably going to stay away from this altogether.
9,400 for the minus 200 favorite against Aldana's 6,800. Beza, second most expensive guy of the night, he has to get a finish to pay that off. So knowing that I'm going to be only putting Vettori on 10% and Beza on 10% essentially there, I'm going to have a lot of mid-range guys. I'm going to end up having money to play with, I feel like, on tonight, because this is just too much, as we're saying, with Patillo. You can't bet these debuters like this against veterans, regardless of the veteran in there. Give me Beza 10% on DraftKings. Do you think you're going to play this one at all?
No.
Then we end up having a fight of the night contender in there. You know he's one of our favorites. At 135 pounds, we have Marlon Chito Vera coming in against Andre Ewell. Ewell in there having a 15-5 record, having a marquee win over Henan Barrow in his short notice debut. Then he lost to Nathaniel Wood, but last rattling off a win over Dos Santos, where he was a big underdog in there, really showing his range striking, good takedown defense, has some good wrestling credentials, but he uses that in reverse to keep it striking, where Ewell has a lot of length with those front kicks, a good jab on him, and a bit of a nightmare on the outside. His cardio has held up well, and his fight IQ is getting better, but he's just... he's passed a lot of tests so far. Nathaniel Wood is a high-level prospect in there, but Chito Vera in here, you know why we usually like him. He's balls to the wall. It's a lot of that. I feel like Diego Ferreira and Chito Vera have a lot of the same type of pressure tactics, where it's not technically the most sound, but the fact that he stays in your face just doesn't let you think, and that in itself is a solid tactic. It's worked out for Chito a lot, because we've seen him give up these rounds a lot of the time in the first round, but all of a sudden that switch turns over and Chito Vera's like, I can throw 200 punches in one round. I don't care. And his opponents just cannot keep up with it. Chito's been a big underdog for us here at LaTB for a long time, because he's a monster off of his back. His striking's getting better. It's the fact that he has a lot of power. Chito Vera hurts a lot of his opponents. Mutanch?
That's the only one that I know on here.
For?
MMA Masters. That Florida gym.
Okay, that's the other Florida gym. So that was back all the way for Beza in there. But either way, with Vera here, this is just a fight that at distance he's going to be losing to Ewell. If he can't get this to the ground, even off of his back, Vera can do a lot of work. If Ewell decides to keep it standing, it's going to be an uphill battle for Chito Vera. But I do think that that pressure finally gets to him. I think it's in the third round. It could potentially be a split-up round. I think first round is almost a guaranteed giveaway to Ewell, but then the second two, Vera turns it on. 29-28, if not late finish for Chito Vera. Give me a favorite. Actually, I see this line being super off. Wow, I'm surprised. I thought Ewell was going to be a bit more of a favorite here. A lot of people coming in Chito Vera. I will have it actually a bit closer, because I think Ewell has a definite avenue, and that's just using his wrestling in reverse and fighting at range, where he has a speed advantage and a distance advantage. Give me Chito Vera decision right now. Who do you have in this fight?
I like Chito everywhere here. I think he's just a better fighter everywhere. That being said, I think Ewell is unknown and underrated. Chito's just been doing the damn thing, but I think this fight is a lot closer, like you're saying, than everyone thinks. I think Ewell could stunt that wrestling that Chito usually can dominate with, and I'm interested to see what just throwing hands would be like, because he's going to have the reach advantage, and it's a significant reach advantage. So I could almost see him stifling Vera, and Vera like desperate to get in the inside and cut off that reach advantage. And I love Marlon. I don't see him taking Ewell down. He has been submitted before, but it's by a legitimate guy. Yeah, he could get submitted here. I do see a late finish. These lines are off. Either guy could win this fight. I know that's with most MMA fights. I just like everything Chito's done of lately. His fighting a lot. I guess his last fight was kind of quick, but I feel like he's, fighting every 2-4 months. It's kind of crazy. Didn't we just see Chito in Florida?
How long ago was that? I think we might have.
2 months ago he fought Hernandez. 6 months ago he fought Frankie Sainz. 10 months ago he fought Guido Canetti. Douglas Andrade. I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to go Vieira decision. I could switch that to Ewell at weigh-ins. I want to see the size discrepancy, and I'm going to go, I think, like Dan Hooker, Ally Aquinta, it's telling, more telling than you think.
And especially this week with all of the controversy we've already had, not only is it this type of fight, but in general, the fighters are really testing already the limits of their weight. So, going to be looking at that as the week goes on. Be sure to like and subscribe, follow wherever you can so you know how we feel, because I've already changed my mind on the main event 3 times just with the news we've heard today. But getting back to the card, this is absolutely stacked here in Tampa, Florida. Even if we lose the main event, it's a good card, people. You guys should be freaking watching, because there's names on here that are just absolute hot fire. Not only is Marlon Chito Vera versus Ewell a potential fight of the night, we have the next one moving on with, real quick with the DraftKings with Chito Vera. He's 9,100, the minus 185 favorite against Ewell 7,100. That's a little steep for Chito Vera in such a coin flip of a fight. I'm going to probably do 10 and 10 as well.
I can see that.
Because I got a decision.
Chito never comes through with heavy points.
I agree. He's
a better parlay maker.
Right. It's probably Ewell on DraftKings out of the two. That's the more favorable option there. So, interesting as far as DraftKings lines goes. Moving on to another fight of the night contender at 125 pounds. Holy midnight studying. Woo! This one is absolute hot fire. We have División Figueiredo coming in against Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's second stint in the UFC. He got dropped. Is back now. 15-8-1 fighter. Having all sorts of showcase fights. He is DraftKings gold. If Tim Elliott doesn't get knocked out by Ben Nguyen, or submitted essentially with that kick that first set it up, Tim Elliott has losses with over 100 points because of his takedown heavy. I mean, he's throwing over 4 takedowns every 15 minutes or even higher rate than that, landing half of them, but has solid defense in there as well. The issue, though, is that Tim Elliott has shown that he can be cracked and then submitted. It's MMA. It can happen to anyone in there. But he's really a pressure fighter with great cardio in there. Good IQ, and just really brings a funky style that not a lot of guys see. His hands down, but he ducks in so much, gets on those hips that he wears guys out with that wrestling and then puts it on them with tons of ground and pound. Loving Tim Elliott, but we haven't seen him for a little while in here, and that's because in between his last fight, where he got a win against La Rosa in there, he ended up tearing every ligament in his knee. Ugh. So that's why we haven't seen him for over a year, 9 months. He's getting back in it. His training camps look like about 2 weeks ago he stopped hard sparring, but he's been moving really well in there. And against División Figueiredo, you got a powerful man you got to worry about. If you haven't seen here at LaTB, put some little exposés out in there. Some fun uppercuts that Figueiredo does in there. And some really good movement against Pantoja. His last win that he had, Figueiredo really showed that his takedown defense is finally getting on point. His cardio's getting there. And that boxing for anyone's going to be a nightmare. Again, those uppercuts and body shots from Figueiredo hurt. Absolutely bad in there. But if you listen to LaTB for any time in here, you know the 14-1 fighters only lost to Formiga in there, where here had him because of the wrestling. Because Figueiredo, once, if he can't get off of his back, he's not going to submit you. He's not going to throw up submissions. And with the amount of takedowns and advances that Tim Elliott and control Tim Elliott has when he gets to the ground, I feel like if Figueiredo doesn't land that one punch shot, I got Elliott in this fight. Elliott doesn't stay on the outside, especially after he got cracked by Nguyen. He's even more dedicated about just grapple fucking the shit out of you to be quaint about it, but I like that. I like that a lot. So, give me the big underdog. Give me Tim Elliott. The same reasons I was picking Formiga in there. I think that once that grappling starts to set in, even that power, those uppercuts just are too wound up, and Elliott can finally get a 30-27, maybe 29-28 type of decision in there. Give me Elliott plus 185 plus money puesta officially
wow.
I haven't switched off of it all week. I love Elliott in this spot.
You've always been high on him because he came in short notice and held his own with Mighty Mouse.
Very true.
That's been like the number one reason. Does it bother you at all that he's going down to 125 again?
Nope.
You don't think
I've been watching. I'm watching his Instagram and all his training camps, and he's been already. He's absolutely fine as far as the weight.
And you cardio even you think it'll
that's
be
his
fine?
That's his superpower. That's what he's best known for, is his cardio and just pace. Again, the skills are a little funky. They aren't necessarily technically sound, but he just stays in your damn face the whole time, or stays on your hips. He attacks them hips.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Davisian here.
Sure.
I like him for a decision, just how active he's been. Activity is everything. We saw it with Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker last weekend. It's just been far too long. And we also see these guys that have some kind of knee injury take one kick to the leg and all of a sudden everything goes out the window. They get more nervous than the actual pain of going through all that again. Tim Elliott has a lot riding on this. It's now or nothing. I don't like when a guy comes in also at a lower weight. That makes me nervous. It makes me think that he doesn't want to mess with 135ers for a reason. I never been real high on Tim Elliott, so take the bias for what it is. Davisian I go back and forth on, but he's shown good takedown defense. So give me Figueiredo decision here. I think it'll be closer than people think. I don't think Davisian should be a 2-1 favorite. Maybe 150, 125, 115 even.
I agree 1,000,000%. Davisian Figueiredo is definitely way that power is just getting too hyped up in there. Way too big of a favorite. 9,300 you're going to pay for the minus 235 favorite against Tim Elliott 6,900 plus 185. I feel like the value is also swaying me with Tim Elliott here, because I'm like, for that much, that's just ton. Keep stacking that money on there because it's a closer fight than that, as you're saying. So you're getting
It's
value
closer.
as far as
yeah,
that.
and I think the comparison to Formiga is good. I just I think Formiga is a little more well-rounded than Tim Elliott, but Tim Elliott's ground game is superb. Yeah, I still like Tim Elliott. I just think Davisian's making this is his run.
He's definitely looked amazing in there against Pantoja, and that was a fight of the year contender in there at times as well. Pantoja hanging on for his life.
His fight before that. Who was his one before that?
The Formiga loss, but before that,
yeah.
he had a big knockout, I believe. Formiga did, or against.
Yeah, that Moraga.
Moraga.
But the Formiga fight was really great. I like that fight.
Right. So, how much do you think you're going to play Figueiredo for 9,300?
Not so much. I actually think Tim Elliott's the better play, and I'm going to be waiting until will be really important weigh-ins for me. This is a weird fight because it is Tim Elliott back. I want to see what he looks like. And morning weigh-ins, not ceremonial. I want to see what he looks like. Is he going to be wobbly on the scale? How close is it going to be for weight? Is it going to be an easy walk-on? Is he going to need the ring? All that stuff will matter for this.
Right.
Especially because you need Tim Elliott to come in with that hard-ass cardio. You need that in this fight specifically. But I do like what you're saying, Figueiredo. His power, we're not ever hearing that Tim Elliott's a chinny fighter. So it's, I don't know. Close fight.
It's a closer fight than it is. I agree. The values on Elliott, I'm going to probably end up going 40%, 35% Elliott, and then going 10% Figueiredo just to hedge my bets a little bit there, because he also has that knockout potential. I was telling you that there was all sorts of fight of the night potentials. There's another one right now. What if I told you we had another one right now? So, and there's still more to come when we have a 170-pound profile bout with Max Payne Griffin coming in against Alex Morono. I mean, Morono is must-see UFC in there, must-see TV. Loving what we see from the great white Morono in there. 16-5, coming off of a 2-fight winning streak over Zach Otto in a TKO. And then as of late, who did he beat before that?
Keenan Song.
But he had a decision over Jordan Mean that he lost, getting went over Berkman in there. Morono, I mean, workman attitude, keeps his head on the center line a little much. His head bounces around in there because he just comes in swinging hands down essentially. On the ground, he's a monster. On top, especially, really lays on the ground and pound heavy. Has a great gas tank. He's a zombie in there at times where he can eat a little too much damage. There is times Morono's gas tank, you don't see the volume really decrease, but you do see him gasping in there. You do see him just look like he's on rubbery legs, even though he says he can keep going for a while longer, but it's just brawls. Morono gets into brawls, and he usually comes out on top when he can get these guys brawling. Against Max Payne Griffin, the 15-6 fighter, has had a speckled record in there in the UFC, losing to Zaleski, beating Mike Perry, losing to Melender, also to Imadaev. Who else did he last beat in there? He's coming up to win.
Is who he beat
in a majority decision as of late.
Yeah, and then Thiago Alves, he lost the decision, and Curtis Melender, he lost the decision, and then he beat Mike Perry by decision.
That's right. And
then lost to Zaleski by decision.
It was controversial split decision. The Alves won. A lot of people thought he won it in there as well, but Max Payne Griffin really come around as of late, getting his takedown defense a lot better. I know he had a fight with Colby Covington where he was taken down like crazy initially, but ever since then, I think he's only been taken down twice. Right. So the numbers are skewed when people are like, he doesn't have takedown defense. Well, it's actually gotten a lot better since his initial short notice intro into the UFC. Griffin's really mixing up the boxing well, goes to the body well. Good striker on the outside, hard right, good footwork. Again, that takedown defense has gotten a lot better on the ground, though. He just doesn't really have much. He more stays on top, barely advances off of his back. We can see he can get back up, but haven't really seen too much of his ground game because he's either been able to keep it up or guys just haven't been able to challenge it there. Morono, though, doesn't have the best entries on his takedowns. He won't pull guard, but he kind of has to hurt you, get to your back, and he'll more get you on the cage and then jump on your back when you're both on the cage instead of grab those hips and pull them out, where I think Griffin will be able to keep this kind of more where he wants it. I think this is a dirty split of a fight, but I think that this is a high output, must-see TV. Give me Morono slightly just because of the action, but I could see, coin flip and Griffin winning this, so give me 29-28. Morono, dirty split. I even think this is a split decision on the cards. So give me Morono here, decision.
I don't think this is going to be a fight of the night. I think it's going to be two guys laying together for at least a round and a half. They're both going to be exhausted, and that's why they make these decisions where it's 29-28, but you're like, I guess I'm not mad if either guy wins or loses. I have Max Griffin to eke out the decision just by quality of opponent that he's gone up against. I like Alex Morono, but he's knocking guys out that he should be knocking out. They're all guys that you're like, he shouldn't be in the UFC. He shouldn't be in the UFC. He shouldn't be in the UFC. So Max Griffin's gone against a bunch of slayers that are all guys that you're still betting on. So when I put it into my MMA math calculator, give me Griffin by decision. Closer than we think probably, but Griffin's going up against guys that are like Mike Perry is this level guy. He's just talks a good game, makes it all exciting, makes it platinum. But yeah, Max Griffin. Didn't we see Max Griffin Perry?
We did. We watched that in Florida, which again in Tampa here, it's gonna be. We're trying, fans. We're going to try to get out there. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the card stays intact, if it's worth it. Yeah, right, is it worth it? There's so many good fights. I'm trying to make up good enough of a reason to get there. So maybe if we get lucky, we'll be out there soon enough. And woo, what a showing. What a showing on DraftKings. You're going to end up paying for the slight -130 favorite Max Griffin, $8,300 against Alex Morono's $8,000. It's actually $8,200 for Max Payne Griffin in there, so $8,000 coin flip on DraftKings.
Are they both low output? Like, what's their score? 53?
Average score for Max Griffin is 62 points. Average score for Morono, 63 points.
Ooh, yeah. I don't think either guy puts you in danger, but neither guy's going to be on your winning card either.
That's kind of where I'm thinking as well. You can put it in cash lineups if you want to win straight up cash games, but if you want to win all these tournaments, you got to go for the finishes, and I kind of see a decision. We both see a decision there, so that in itself should probably keep it away on those DraftKings. I could also see 10-10 just because both of these guys have put up over 100 points in multiple fights, so they have that type of output. But fun one. Definite fun one in there. Then we move on to another fun one where we have the 205ers, the heaviest guys on the entire card, with Devin Clark, the Brown Bear himself, coming in against Ryan Spann. Every time I see Devin Clark fight, I mean, it is kind of hilarious because his dad just yells, "Come on, Bear! Come on, Bear!" All you could, because his voice travels, you'll hear it. We'll hear it in there for sure. It's definitely carries, and he always wants him to do it. He always wants him to go. Go, Bear! Come on, Bear! So Devin Clark in there being 10-3. Having a bit of a mixed record, coming off of a big win. I had him as an underdog against Stocic, but I was telling you Stocic is a front runner as well. I like the bet against Devin Clark. I feel like he constantly has gas tank issues. He's mainly a wrestler, but doesn't really wrestle. Really gets out clinched a lot. Striking, he can get picked apart, but his chin just constantly gets proven that he's got a good one, which isn't good. People know you got a good chin, it means you get hit a lot. So I always see Clark after pretty much that first round sucking air hard, looking at that clock constantly. But he has some power essentially in there. Grappling, other than getting back up to his feet, he's not really a submission danger at all in there. So Devin Clark at 205, he'll stick around for a while because it's a weak division, but if it was that same tactics with other guys or another division, probably wouldn't work out. But against Ryan Spann, he's going to have his hands full here. The 16-5 fighter's coming off of a long winning streak. He's got wins over Rodrigo Nogueira as of late, winning the Contender Series fight. Also beating Frankenstein Henrique in there. You know how we feel about that mofo in there. That was a given free win. But he decisioned him, which is absolutely disgusting and shameful. So you got to take that into account. Spann, super tall in there, athletic, but also has a bit of gas tank issues. He likes to get people out of there striking. There's all sorts of fun knockouts. Lord Honky Tonk out there posting a lot of fun stuff. But Spann has a bit of a chin issue as well. He can get cracked in there and finish via submission or just flat out TKO'd. He gets a little almost Derek Brunson-y ice skatey. He lands with a lot of power, but he's kind of a madman. When he gets taken down, though, Spann does actually attempt guillotines, a lot of ninja chokes. He is a threat off of that front headlock position, so that is viable against Brown Bear here. I think Spann is able to do it in the first or second round just because I feel like out of the both fighters, Devin Clark gasses harder, but this is a dirty one. This is an absolute dirty one. I'm going to go TKO round number 2. It's that gas tank, but don't jump off that cliff with me. This is a scary one. This is a tentative one. I'm going to be tentative on this one. Give me Spann, the slight favorite here. TKO round number 2. Who do you have in this dirty fight?
I think it's going to be Spann decision. Spann will be high scoring if he finishes it, but then, you know, same thing if the gas station does wear out and Devin Clark's just going to sit there and hold him close with underhooks the whole time and not let him get off punches, and it's going to be a boring fight. Yeah, the coin flip of the fight to me is whether or not it's exciting or not. Give me Ryan Spann decision. I can't go too heavy on this, but Devin Clark, he just has quit, or there's something about him I just don't trust at all.
I agree. Yeah. You almost can't trust Devin Clark. It's hard to trust Devin Clark. He'll definitely let you down more times than not, I feel like.
So give me Spann, but it's not because I'm really high on Spann. It's because of how much I'm fading Devin Clark, and that's why I can't go heavy on Spann on my DraftKings.
I totally agree with that. And for 8,800...
But the line's right. Don't you think?
The betting line is close. Yeah, it's closer to being right. But DraftKings is not. DraftKings is fairly steep in there. 8,800 against Devin Clark's 7,400. Out of the two, though, DraftKings-wise, I would like Spann more, regardless of pricing. I just feel like he has more avenues to finish via that submission and or TKO, where Clark is essentially just a TKO. And even that decision, it's probably Spann. So, So definitely be tentative there. I'm going to probably do like 20% span, 0% Devin Clark in that bout as far as my books are concerned. Then we're moving on to the profile fight of the night.
This fight could be... It might be in Indiana. People might be like, I don't know if this is a main event. But it could be a co-main, this next fight.
Oh, definitely this headlining preliminary bout for ESPN.
Yeah.
For sure could be a ESPN headliner easily, where if the main one falls out, you could easily move this. And I'll be licking my chops. I'll be licking my chops for days. Absolute smoke show of a fight. We have James Dirty Vick coming in against Nico Price in there. The price is right when we get Nico Price in here. We're always trying to bet Nico Price. He's come through more often than not. As of late, the 13-3 fighter is coming off of a loss to Joffrey Neal.
5 days ago.
2 months ago, right? Oh, it's really, really close. We don't like that. We usually like 8 months, especially when it's that brutal of a beating you take in there. But Price in there, he's a wild man. He gets in your face a lot like Morono. He's just kind of like throws caution to the wind, swings from the hip, knows he has power, relies on it a little much though at times as Nico Price, where yeah, you'll cash him as a big underdog, but you're sweating that bet slip. You're sweating watching him fight because you're like, dude, just put your hands up a little more. Don't eat that many shots. But on the ground, Price is a monster as well. He has legitimate purple belt skills. He's a local boy out of Florida. He went over to Tampa 2 days ago. He's had all sorts of great training out there. Watching him work with a lot of guys here. Nico Price, tons of power, but it's his... stylistically, this fight just makes absolute zero sense. Who's ever managing Mike Vick's career needs the... James Vick.
Isn't Mike Vick the guy that dog fought?
Yeah, that's right. The Texecutioner. But I actually like the Dirty... Well, we have the Dirty Sanchez. Was
that the nickname of the dog fighter's nickname?
No.
That's horrible.
But Vick in here is just stylistically 13-4. He's been picking very unique matchups that are bad for him. He is moving up to 170 pounds, though, having a hard weight cut for a long time. The 32-year-old being 6'3", has always struggled to make 155. Now he gets a whole 15 pounds, but the power changes, dynamic changes in there. Vick supposedly should have more speed because that's what we usually see with these guys, but he's not necessarily the fastest guy. It was really just his length at 6'3" that was the biggest detriment against these 55ers. But once guys started figuring out, if I put my chest in his head and throw an overhand right, Vick has that tall man defense where he just leans back and doesn't get out of the way of the punch and eats the right hand time and time again. That's tailor-made for Nico Price. Nico Price throws that right hand from left field. You can see it coming a mile away, but it always seems to land. And James Vick just kind of puts his hands down and leans back. And against Price, you can't not do that. On the ground, it is competitive, but I do see potentially the output being there for Price a little bit more. I do think the line is actually off, though. I see James Vick having more of a shot than it is. It shouldn't be over 2-1, and it's pretty close to that now at -185. Nico Price. I'd be more comfortable with a -140. So this is a closer fight. Give me Price TKO round number 2. James Vick has a shot. 170. Stylistically, Vick could have just had many other fighters that matched up better for him, and this is not the type of guy. This is a guy who starts off fast, where James Vick always starts off slow. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
I'm actually really excited about James Vick going to 170. I just wish he would have given himself a little more time to get there. I think build-wise, these guys are almost the exact same. James Vick's one of those guys I thought was on death's door at weigh-ins, so I actually think that could be a real reason for why he became so chinny. And honestly, if you look at the guys that James Vick is going up against, they are all guys that you could easily say could go on a title run. So I don't think James Vick is losing to schlubs. Nico Price, he's also in wars all the time, and I know he got the hammer fist from the bottom, but he was losing that fight up until that moment, and I almost think this should be dead even. I got James Vick by decision. Nico Price, I know that James Vick keeps getting knocked out, but he's going against caliber guys that's how I felt he should be losing to them. Whereas Nico Price is just in these nonsensical wars. Sometimes it looks like he lacks a crazy amount of ring IQ in there, and he puts himself in harm's way so many times. This is going to be one for the ages. If James Vick doesn't get immediately knocked out, it's going to be one of the best fights maybe of the year. So give me Vick decision. Yeah.
Another fight of the night potential in here.
For sure.
Another.
This is I definitely, if you could bet on fight of the night, I would bet that this so far, this had it.
This can be such
a great fight.
Such a great fight. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the almost 2-1 favorite, $8,400 for Nico Price against James Vick, $7,800. I think you can mix it up, put them both on there. I'm going to probably do 20% Price, 10% of Vick in there. Woo! That is such a
I have a 7-4 record with James Vick.
Ooh, I like it.
I have a 6-3 record with Nico Price. They're both right there.
And we're splitting it up here.
Yeah.
So that's how fun that is. If you're trying to make some money, you know you're liking and subscribing at LaTB_MMA on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. You know you can find me at Zoltanite, at WeakNeckBaby, for Cheney. You're going to be getting our picks. You should be sticking around because weigh-ins matters. We've told you about multiple fights already where the weigh-in matters the day of. And we got a couple more on the way where it's all going to matter. So be sure to stay tuned for that. This is officially also where we're getting into our main card picks as well, right? Where we're picking for the best pickers.
This is where we're getting to the Fight Pick Championship. So make sure you're following everybody. You can go to our page or retweeting it out all the time from the other guys that are doing it. And they have good podcasts. And one of them actually is a WWE podcast. And he does like the WWE wrestling, like, hey there, candy asses.
Love it.
So awesome. So
shout out to that guy.
You look who everybody is. I know it's we'll try to get better as we get deeper into these competitions, but right now we're just trying to dethrone the MMA marks.
Definitely coming for that strap. So we're gonna start off at 185 pounds with your boy himself, Eric Anders, coming in against Jared Meatball Mershart in there.
I almost put a picture of Meatball in there. I almost did.
I think of it all the time now. Jared Mershart coming in with a 30-11 record, coming off of a win as of late against Trevin Giles' submission 2 months ago. Prior to that, losing a couple against Kevin Holland in a dirty split decision, but beating other people in there like Pachota, other guys like that. Jared Mershart having a funky-ass style as well. Not the most orthodox striking, but really tries to get it to the ground and get it done once he gets on the ground. On the ground, Mershart is a handful. You feel like you sharted your pants in there when you get on the ground with him.
I'm still thinking about the last fight. I think if it goes to decision, for sure, Vick wins. But otherwise, if there's a finish, it's for sure
Price, right? So that's why I think DraftKings, you got to put a little more Price. Bigger advantage there. But
sorry.
We're good. On to the main card. On to the main one. Mershart.
Totally. Because I was thinking how that night could shart your night up.
It can. So you got to have a little bit of both of the sides of there, an extra change of underwear. So getting back to 85, where Mershart on the ground, all sorts of tough to handle against the 12-4. Your boy Anders getting a big win as of late against Vinicius Moreira 3 months ago, where we were telling you Moreira is one of the lowest fighters at 185 pounds. Probably doesn't deserve to be in the UFC, so don't take anything away from that. Anders, against a lot of other people, should probably be a 4 in a row on a 4-fight losing streak right now. And I love you, boy. I'm a your boy fan right now, but there's a lot of guys that are just figured him out in there. His best credentials have always been his football accolades that haven't really translated over. Khalil Roundtree just had the performance of his life in the fight prior to that against your boy there, where he picked him apart from every which angle. Solid takedown defense from Anders, striking, gets a little gassed, has power, on the ground, not too many people like to try to get it there, but once people finally succeed on getting Anders to the ground, they can keep him there. And if Meerschaert's all over you, that'll wear you out. And your boy also has gas tank issues. So it's just, we know what we're getting from Eryk Anders nonstop, and we know what we're getting from Meerschaert. Meerschaert puts a pace on you. It's unorthodox. It's, I don't want to say it's Tim Elliott-esque, because it's not, but it's just funky where it's very unique to him. Tim Elliott has a very unique style to him. Meerschaert does as well, and it's ground heavy. Gimme Gerald Meerschaert submission round number 2. Big underdog again, plus 150. I think Meerschaert can actually get it to the ground, especially the further we get into this fight.
I have round number 3, but I could also see Eryk Anders shrugging off the punches, shrugging off. He has really great takedown defense. He's going to have the stronger punch here, but Meerschaert doesn't go out easily. You know I'm a Meerschaert fan. When I looked back at my record for Eryk Anders, I'm 8-2 on Eryk Anders. I'm 4-4 on Gerald Meerschaert, and I usually go with Meerschaert on everything. So I thought I was being completely biased here with my 3rd round submission. I think it takes him a little while to wear him out, but he does have a next level ground game, a very underrated but also unorthodox ground game. So give me Meerschaert, submission round 3.
I feel like you were the one who changed my mind on Meerschaert. I feel like you were one of the big trumpeters of Meerschaert for a long time, and I always betted against him, but you changed my mind for the right ways. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the slight favorite, minus 185. Eryk Anders, 8,500 on DraftKings against Meerschaert, 7,700 plus 150. I like Meerschaert. You like Meerschaert.
Yeah.
Another underdog. We started off the pay-per-view with an well, never mind. I guess we did not on that one. Yeah. My bad. So, that one, how much do you think you're going to be playing Meerschaert on your DraftKings for 7-7?
I don't know.
We both see a finish.
I know, but I actually, if he doesn't finish by submission, I think your boy could win. No, I think Gerald Meerschaert's just a little better everywhere. Even if he doesn't finish, I think he can eke out the decision. So, yeah, I'll probably go 40-30% on Meerschaert.
I like that 20 to 30% on Meerschaert. Your boy, it's too steep at 8.5. Absolutely too steep there. So, not a lot of floor other than that knockout potential. And that's out the door in first round pretty much for your boy Anders. On to 155 pounds, we have Luis Violent Bob Ross himself, Pena, coming in against Matt, the Steamroller Frivola, a Tampa native, coming in with a 7-1-1 record in the UFC, losing in his, well, he's had a few fights in the UFC here. Who did he lose against? Lando Venata?
Polo Reyes.
Was it a TKO against Polo Reyes?
Yeah.
And then he got a draw over Lando Venata in there. And then as of late, he beat Jalen Turner in a decision. The underdog getting it together. Frivola, well-rounded everywhere. Had some solid boxing in there. A good gas tank. Serviceable wrestling as well. Can keep the fight where he wants to. He's coming out of that Gracie, Tampa South. Doesn't have a big travel here. And it's just, he makes some grimy fights. It's not an easy fight. Frivola isn't going to stand out on highlight tapes for any one specific thing, but he does everything serviceable, and he doesn't really make too many mistakes. That one shot, he doesn't leave those type of openings. He's not an Eco Price. He doesn't leave his head on a platter. So Frivola is tough for a lot of guys in there. And against Pena, who's really underperformed since he's come into the UFC, I was all sorts of hyped on Violent Bob Ross. I thought he was going to come in and eat people alive, and he's just mainly gone to decisions. I do believe the 7-1 fighter lost only his debut against Mike Trezano as a humongous favorite, but then rattled off 2 wins against Steven Peterson in a decision, and then as of late, knocking out Pat Wyman, or the carcass of Matt Wyman in there, in a fight where Wyman actually had some good showings. A lot of people were like, wow, Wyman had a fight of the year because he was kind of in that fight. I mean, Pena did show that he's finally getting his gas tank in better. His wrestling's gotten a little bit better, but again, it was Matt Wyman, an old generation guy. Frivola is the same caliber as Pena here. I feel like Pena is really more one of these guys that needs to get it done with like a flying knee, a one-shot decision-wise. If he finds guys that wrestle a lot, he gets into trouble. This is a coin flip of a fight for me. I think the hype is swaying a lot more people. I actually am surprised that the line is where it's at, because I feel like Pena most of the times would be a minus 250 favorite. I think Steamroll is still closer to that. I could go Frivola. Gotta see not even gotta see Wayne's. I got Pena decision right now, but I think it's a dirty split. I think Frivola's live here. I think he's really live. Could see myself switching by the end of the week. Give me Pena decision right now. This is a way closer fight than the odds have it for me. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I kind of have it dead on. I thought Luis Pena finally did everything right in his last fight to show me that he deserved to be in the UFC. And it made me, I might have even said it, so I'm the last one on the Pena train. Frivola's kind of the dancing partner that you want a guy like Luis Pena to have. He's kind of a punching bag. He's okay everywhere. He isn't a walkthrough. He is, I don't want to say a tough guy, because he's skilled and, you know, his wrestling is good. He's a grinder. He's good all 3 rounds. But I think Luis Pena is just one of these guys that is kind of next level. He's so young, and I think these young guys are making bigger leaps between each fight. Steamrolla's young too, but Luis Pena's extra young. Polo Reyes, I think Luis Pena's hands are a little better than Polo's, and the Jalen Turner victory, I don't even know who that is. So give me Pena by decision. Matt Frivola's well, he could get a weird knee if Polo Reyes can finish him. Give me Matt Pena decision, but I kind of see him winning all 3 rounds.
I have it a bit closer than that, so I'm going to probably end up staying. If there's a shot here, if you want the crazy guy who I think has a better ceiling, I think it's Frivola at 7,200 against Pena's 9,000 even on DraftKings. I could see myself playing more of Frivola if I play either of the fighters, but I kind of am reading a stay away at a decision type of a fight.
In my opinion, I love the amount of points that Violent Bob Ross lays typically, and if I'm going to go anyone over 9, I can see myself easily putting Pena over somebody like Vettori. Easily. Like, I can't even imagine, I feel like Pena's going to get double the points of Vettori. Anyway.
I don't think you're wrong there. I'm just tentative on that. I'm tentative. So, anything left with that fight at 155 pounds? Now we're moving into the 115-pound division, where we have returning mom bod in there, Mackenzie Dern, coming in against Amanda Ribas. The 7-1 Ribas has coming off of that jungle fight scene. She's got a couple fights in the UFC now. Last beating Emily Whitmire in a submission. Prior to that, she also got a win over some lady in there.
Oh my gosh, I might change Mackenzie Dern for people. You know who she kind of resembles a little?
Who's this?
Rachel Maddow.
Oh, cut her hair short, we'll see.
Yeah, she's gummy too. She's really gummy. Sorry. I just ruined it. So some dude out there has his dick in his hand right now while we're about to talk about Mackenzie Dern. He's like, you done ruined it. Well, it's not one of the 20,000 that dropped her after they found out she was pregnant, supposedly, off of some of the interviews Dern's saying. Is this why she's fighting, so she can try to get rid of the baby?
Well, interestingly enough, I guess we should just go into Mackenzie Dern, because she's the one everyone wants to talk about more. So she has had weight issues. If we have to wait for weigh-ins, it's now. But Dern's has officially come out and said she's only about 5 pounds out from weight and still hasn't even started a cut. That breastfeeding is taking weight off of her that she's never felt. With that, she is a returning fresh mom. 4 months ago, she had a kid. I don't know. Maybe you could fill me in. You've had sisters or something. Do you think the 4 months is enough time for Dern, the newly mom who might not be sleeping regularly, who has openly talked about that she doesn't have a regular schedule, but now she can afford to make her own camp around her, so she doesn't really have a training schedule, but the weight's low. The intangibles here that I feel like, well, please answer that first. 4 months ago.
I actually, you're not punching or kicking anything with your vagina, and that seems to be the thing that takes the hardest brunt of it, of the whole entire gig. If she had a natural childbirth, you can train up until the day that you shit out your baby. So I don't see how it could be a big problem. And I didn't even know. I really didn't know she had a kid. But now I'm thinking, this fight is an all mom or no mom winner. Like, we could have 2 moms win in the same night. That's UFC precedent.
That
right there.
really, really is. The only other fighter I could think that has come back after being pregnant is Pena, who just fought after an 8-month layoff after having a kid. So Dern's coming back quicker
Pena.
than that.
Just kidding. That's nerdy. That's a nerdy joke for the hardcore.
Julian Pena. But here, what I might be wrong here. This is a conspiracy theory. But I feel like Dern, like we say, when you have to cut weight, when you have to get on the road, it makes your cardio better. Dern is now not cutting as hard, and that weight's coming off even easier. Her training isn't. So I think she has an even worse gas tank than she usually does, which isn't good because Dern comes in with a heavy overhand right. You know the ground game. She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
But I do also know for a fact that all my mom friends who are breastfeeding and stuff, it is like the best diet in the world.
That's what I've heard before as well. That's why I was saying breastfeeding. But this is where I think it backfires on her because she's like, I'm losing weight like crazy. I'm in shape. And it's like, no, there's a difference. There's a difference. There's being in shape and then just losing weight because your body's changed a bit. So I feel like Dern might be getting in over her head a little bit here. As far as the cardio aspect, she likes to throw that overhand right, and then if she gets you on the ground at all, you're done. Dern's going to finish you in there. Ribas comes in with a black belt. She's not really showing it too much. She likes to ground and pound in there. Striking-wise, though, Ribas keeps her head straight on the line, and she was actually losing that fight to Whitmire until she started to really use that ground and pound to open up the submission there. So what I don't like about Ribas is that she'll almost close her eyes at time, and if you close your eyes and Dern just rose that freaking Hail Mary right hand, it's landed on other women before. I think it can land here as well. I had Ribas earlier on in the week, but the more I looked at tape, the more Ribas, also when she gets even slightly hurt, Ribas shoots on a takedown. And I think that even though she has faith in her black belt, she doesn't want to go to the ground at all. So Ribas has to win a decision or a TKO from the outside striking wise. And I think Dern has kind of the power and recklessness to get there. I had Ribas earlier in the week. I got Dern decision. I could see a finish. I'm iffy on this. Give me weigh-ins. Give me everything else. I could see myself taking a shot on Ribas. Give me Dern right now. Decision. I'm iffy on this fight. Who do you have and why?
I almost think this is a setup fight. It's been so long since Dern's been in there. Even though she only had a kid a certain amount of time ago. And if they're going to let her go in 8 pounds heavier than her opponent, I got to think the UFC wants Dern in the worst way. They would love what is that, like a Brazilian American to, carry the belt. I think she fills a lot of market share for them. She's one of those popular people. And if you remember when Mackenzie Dern first came in, she had a lot of that Megan Anderson hype where people just liked her to like her. Like everybody.
That Instagram was on fire.
Yeah, and everyone that kind of was like educated enough in mixed martial arts kind of was waiting for her to come in. So I think I got Dern, and I do think Ribas is going to try to play around with her with the ground, which is going to get her in a lot of trouble. I think there's a reason that Mackenzie Dern's ready to come back now. Give me Dern submission. I'm going to give her the round to work it out. That ring rust through. I could see it coming in 2 or even 3, but I do think it's going to be a Dern finish. And I'm going to put her on some cards.
For 8,300, you're going to put the -165 favorite, Mackenzie Dern, on there against Ribas' 7,900, the +135. I actually am going to probably do 20% of Dern, 10% Ribas, just because I think that there's a Hail Mary shot in there that something weird could happen, and Dern's like, I had a baby, what do you expect? maybe not. Maybe I'm being a jerk. So
it seems like having a baby, like what else is going to be scarier than that?
That's what she said. She's like, I kind of didn't realize what pain was until having a kid.
I just shit a watermelon out of my puss. Bring on Rebus.
Technically speaking.
I'm not a doctor over here.
That's not why you guys tuned in. So, definitely.
Not WebMD.
If you're taking medical advice from the show, you're doing it wrong. But if you're subscribing, you're doing it right.
This is an emergency. Call 911. I always shit on Dern, but I look back and I never not picked her, and it's done good for me.
Exactly.
So far.
She scores 100 points pretty much every time.
Give me Dern.
Moving on to 150.
Dern.
Moving on to 155 pounds, we have Thomas Gifford coming in against short notice replacement Mike Davis. I'm surprised that they didn't move like Figueiredo or Price or just so many other fights in here and kept Gifford here, because Gifford was put in this spot against Brock Weaver, who won the Contender Series, who just fell out earlier in the week. They made a short notice replacement. Duriño Burns tried to get that fight, but you know that Gifford didn't want any of that. He ended up giving the returning 7-2 Davis fighter, who lost to Burns via submission 5 months ago, another shot in there. Davis, coming in mainly being a striker, likes to keep it up on the feet. He can get finished himself in as well in there. But gas tank on the regional scene in the Contender Series, he went to a decision with Youssef, which was actually much more telling now that we see Youssef come along. It was actually a really good showing for Davis. He's serviceable everywhere, has a good gas tank, not too many submissions, but has a lot of power. And even in that third round, he can keep the fight where he wants to. We'll throw an occasional shot in there every once in a while. Against Thomas Gifford, coming in at a 17-8 record, he was a short notice replacement against Roberts. They were trying to feed Roosevelt Roberts a win any way in there they could, and we since faded Roberts, because I even said in that Roberts breakdown, oh, he went to a decision with Gifford, which isn't UFC caliber type of a fighter. Gifford leaves his head on the line, has a good jab, an alright right to follow up on it, but not good takedown defense, not the best cardio, and he'll succeed the takedown to go for a guillotine or some sort of front choke, but usually will just give up the takedown and have to work back up from there. I just see Gifford still being a middling fighter. He is young at 27 years old, so we can see a humongous gap surpassed. We can see him really grow from his last showing, but I just haven't seen anything I like in there. I think he has a bit of that tall man defense in there as well at 6'1" against the 6-foot Davis. I just think Davis is a much crisper striker. I got the short notice replacement actually finishing the returning fighter, the 27-year-old Thomas Gifford. Give me Mike Davis TKO round number 2.
Wow. I'm going to have Gifford by submission round number 2. I think this should be an early fight on the night. I don't even understand. Don't ruin your cards with this either way, in my opinion. We don't know enough about either guy. Thomas Gifford actually came in hot to me in his last fight. Everybody thought he was going to be a walkthrough, and he looked really good in there. If he can see that, I think his ground game is going to be better than Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis is going to have the power here, but also the last fight for Thomas Gifford, for all intents and purposes, was on short notice as well. So maybe we didn't get to see the whole thing he was offered. I don't know enough about either fighter. I just know what I've seen from Gifford last time, and I was more impressed than not with what I saw. So Gifford, submission round 2. I'm not going to go heavy on it.
Definitely just, this could have been the opener of the night, and I would have been mad, and would have not been mad, been like, yeah, that deserves to be here, 100%. Not almost the co-main event of the night. So I could even see some adjustment before the UFC has done that, where they've switched up the fights. And
it makes me think they're pushing Gifford. That's the whole reason. And because they're putting him on a main card, maybe they like his look.
But like fighting style, there's nothing that's like, oh, this guy's going to be a contender. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I actually think Roosevelt Roberts is better than anyone thinks that he is. And he was holding his own. I was nervous because I had Roosevelt Roberts in that fight. And I thought Thomas Gifford Gifford, like, who is this kid on short notice coming out, making a run for this victory tonight? Mike Davis, I just don't know enough about yet.
Interestingly enough, we have the short notice replacement being the favorite here. Mike Davis, 8,600 on DraftKings against Gifford, 7,600 on DraftKings. We both have finishes going opposite ways, so I'm going to probably go 20 Davis, 10, 5% Gifford as well in there. But again, that's not even that. I'm going to say 10% Davis, 5% Gifford because, again, low exposure. These guys are too early on in their careers to be that dead set that they're going to make your night. Really hate for our tournament that we have to pick this level of a fight on there.
I know. It's a bummer. It's a bumski. But, you know, last week was all
double
a bunch
debut.
of... yeah, but there was also a bunch of fighters I knew, and it did not go great.
Good point. Good point in there. So... definitely.
Usually the main card's my thing. Usually I'm over 70% on my main card.
Because you know most fighters, but again, we're getting young fighters on these main cards as of late. As we're saying that,
I could switch just out of pure following the crowd on that. That's so nerve wracking. That's how I feel about it. It's like a double day. Like it might as well be a double debut.
Might as really essentially be a double debut. So really low.
Yeah, both guys were on their short notice on their last fight. So
exactly.
Then Mike Davis short notice again, right? So 2 in a row.
I believe so. He came off of a loss and still got a shot because they're like, fight whoever. All right, cool. I'll get another shot. So one of those situations in there. But be tentative on that fight for sure. Moving on to the co-main event of the night at 145 pounds, we have Cub Swanson coming in against the ice cream Kron Gracie in there.
Blech.
Kron coming in a perfect 5-0, beating Alex Caceres in his debut, getting the co-main event spot. That name coming through. He's training with the Diaz brothers regularly. They rep him 209, saying he's been putting in all the work. He looks shredded to the tits in there. Gracie is jacked, has some heavy strikes in there. Beat Kawajiri. He's actually beat some at-level competition. Took Caceres right to the ground. Caceres looked all sorts of out of his head and just ran right through him exactly as he should have. I had Caceres in that fight, hoping the underdog would come through. Kron proved me wrong. I mean, the black belt champion, freaking ADCC champion. We know what we get with him. It's all that BJJ. Coming in against a 4-fight losing streak, Cub Swanson, the 25-11 fighter, has had a bit of a slip, a bit of a run in the negative as of late, losing to Moicano, losing to Edgar, losing to freaking, who is it, Max in there as well, Shane Burgos in a split decision as of late, but definitely on the back nine of his career at 35 years old. Cub Swanson is definitely slowed down a little bit. He's been in some of those Fight of the Year contender bouts, but they've taken a toll on him. The fight IQ isn't as much there. He still has a lot of tricks. The power's not there. He has to kill you by 1,000 cuts, and people have kind of figured out Cub Swanson's game. He'll brawl with you. You can sucker him into a brawl, and his chin isn't necessarily the best. On the ground, Cub Swanson does have deficiencies as well, especially against such a high-level black belt, but I think the UFC is looking to use Cub Swanson more as a stepping stone, but he does have a shot. I mean, he can drag this into the second and third round, but I feel like we've seen Kron there as well against Kawajiri and a couple other fighters, so I think it's just trajectories of careers. Cub's on the way down, and they're kind of passing the torch with Kron here. I think it's a marquee matchup for him. I hate to pick it, but I gotta go Kron, especially after I picked Caceres last time and he made me look like a big fool. I mean, gotta go Kron. I would have thought it was a bigger favorite. I actually think the lines might be a little more off. I think Kron, you could easily get over 2-1 and still be fairly comfortable. So he's minus 160. I think it could be even higher than that. Give me Kron Gracie submission round number 2, maybe even round number 1. Who do you have in this fight?
I gotta agree. I almost feel like people are giving Cub Swanson a little too much respect here. He is a worn out Cub bear. He's like almost 107 years old. I could picture the first round Kron getting on his back and Cub Swanson knowing enough that he holds one wrist the whole time while he takes punches in the head, and it just be like a kind of a stalemate, boring first round. But I just got to think Kron's going to be able to get it done eventually. The amount of ways he knows how to transition into things, and no matter how trained you are, no matter what you've seen, Kron is the specialist of the specialist. He's from the specialist family and is the best one from the specialist family. So that's kind of a crazy thing. The other thing about Kron is this picture does him no justice. Kind of a hot, like Cal Drago looking dude, like very sexy, very sexy. He looks like he could be dating Lisa Bonet or something. So anyways, just for looks alone, but I almost think this is a setup fight for Kron. And when I look at the 5 fights, gosh, I almost think, with the exception of the main, which is the other with Pena, Dern, whatever that long blonde hair Thor looking kid's name, and then Kron Gracie, like they're just setting up a whole bunch of young good looking chaps on a card.
That's why I feel like we gotta manage a way to get down there, because these are people in 3 years, 2 years.
Seen Kron all bodied up.
There's real contenders on this card that we're gonna
Gracie fight in the UFC.
Exactly.
Get a Killer Cub shirt.
So that'd be dope as hell too. I mean, nostalgically, I love this fight. It's going to be one that I feel like I'm going to remember for a while. How do you feel about Cub Swanson coming out and saying that he actually didn't get to train with a lot of camps because he's fighting a Gracie?
I did hear that, and they don't want to be the camp known as the training the dude that beat the Gracie. That seems it seems backward to me. It seems counterintuitive. I don't get it. But yeah, I know they're like a mafioso family of jiu-jitsu. So
Very
like
true.
The more I learn, I'm like, oh, I've said some shit on air.
I've told you a few times, like, are you sure? And you're like, I know. I'm like, okay, I'm just saying.
I'm really just
hits.
kidding. I'm just mocking you because I'm
I warned you. I don't give a damn.
I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I'm actually going with Kron Gracie this time. I learned my lesson with Caceres as well, and I just think Cub Swanson's probably even a step off Bruce Leroy at this point.
Woo! Dirty.
I know. Sorry, Cubby.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,700 for the ice cream Kron Gracie against Cub Swanson, $7,500. Can't put Cub anywhere. Kron, I'm going to have enough money with as many underdogs as I have of a night. So I feel like Kron's pretty solid.
Kron and Pena might be my 9s. And then everything else I'll build around them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's 8-7. It's not even 9 for him. So
yeah, easy.
Exactly. Going to be exposed to that fight. Definitely. So then we get to the main event, one that we got on eggshells. It's tentative as tentative can be. I've never heard a report that a fighter might not make weight a week before, and they're just now letting us kind of know now, and they have people on reserve. I mean, this has turned into a full-blown shit show as far as like PR and whatever, because there's all sorts of accounts dropping like, who do you have? UFC. But the fans are like, what fight's going on? It's just been absolutely tentative here. JJ Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the former champion, going back down to 115 pounds to face Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, mom wanting to be mom champ, getting a shot. This is her way to get to the belt, is beating JJ. She beats JJ. She gets the next chance to contest for that belt in my eyes. But again, we have to watch all the media up until weigh-ins to see what happens here. 17-6 is Waterson, coming off of a 3-fight winning streak, getting a big win in the last couple ones against KK as feel like a slight underdog, also beating Felice Herring in there and a couple other ladies, Courtney Casey, but she has lost to Rose and Tisha Torres, her only losses in the UFC. Rose and Tisha were able to keep Michelle Waterson at distance. Michelle Waterson has always been undersized. She's been at Jackson Wink with Hallie Holm for a while. She likes to use that front line side kick to the body, knee, and then she'll throw up the question mark kick to the head every once in a while. But at distance is where she does her best work. Waterson has shown that she has a little bit of a ground game. But again, it's been against low-caliber women with, again, low-caliber ground games or even takedown defense where you're getting elite as elite comes with Joanna Jędrzejczyk here. If we get 100% Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's a monster for anyone. The intangibles here are just that weight cut. And the reasons it's an intangible is because I feel like Joanna was throwing out feelers early on in the week telling the UFC, I might not make weight. So the UFC could get it rolling, let Michelle Waterson know, hey, she might not make weight, just so get ready for a catch weight. So that way, JJ wouldn't feel as bad when she's like 4 or 5 pounds over it and didn't hurt herself. Where I feel like Waterson is doing the right thing here and saying, I'm not going to fight you at all if you don't make weight. So that way, even if JJ attempts to make weight and misses, Waterson will be able to take the fight knowing that JJ at least hurt herself trying to make it, instead of getting a whole week advance notice that, hey, she's not even going to hurt her body. Now she knows JJ's going to try to make this cut. JJ's going to be hurting, especially because she's got 2 big ol' pounds hanging off. Them puppies are drooping, and then not in the right way. I mean,
I think she looks good. I like her boob job.
I love it, but she's got to fight 125 pounds if she's going to be fighting, because...
I don't know how much. It's just a couple of cc's of water.
How many cc's?
I was just looking back, and, I mean, it's like a cup of water in each, maybe. Like a cup of water in each big fucking
pound,
deal.
1 pound?
Maybe a pound. Maybe.
I'm going to go 1.5 pounds. I'm going to go 1.5 pounds.
I'm going to say a pound. But the more I look back, it looks like kind of a rumor got started, maybe because JJ's camp did reach out, like you're saying, and ask for a catch weight, only because JJ, the obvious bigger fighter, it just behooves her in every way that you're saying to go in heavy. And I like that Michelle Waterson said, nah. But Michelle, she is one of the few people at 115 that could be an atomweight fighter.
Who's small.
Yeah.
So she can't give up any size at all.
It doesn't do her any good to do that. She was smart for saying no. But Jackson Wink, smart camp.
Especially after this 3-fight run, if she loses somebody who's heavier, what does she gain from this? It's going to be hard for her to make another run like this against the monsters coming into the division. So, Waterson, even though I don't like it, there's enough other fights that I think could take your place in here. Not that I don't want that, so I'm going to stay away from all that garbage talk. So, here in the fight, at range, we know JJ has high output. She's always been a cardio queen in there. She kills you by 1,000 cuts. She's hard as hell to take down, and on the ground, she's been more than serviceable. If it goes 5 hard, even with a depleted JJ, I feel like Waterson doesn't really have too much of that KO power. She has finished a couple ladies in there, but JJ doesn't make those type of mistakes. As you're saying, a smart camp being at Jackson now, they could exploit that one shot, that left hand that tends to be open for JJ, but even if it lands, I just don't see Waterson having the type of power. I think if she lands that left side, it has to be a kick or a hook kick. I don't think she can get it done with her hands.
Who has a faster kick in the 115 than Michelle Waterson?
I would agree. So there's an option there, but I just see so many other check marks for JJ. But again, that weight cut matters. We got to see what she looks like on the scale, because
she's tapped to strikes.
I agree. I totally agree.
Because of what we learn now, a really bad weight cut.
She's been having for years now, and that's why we're surprised.
Yeah,
that
I've
she's
said
doing
it forever.
Yep.
She should not be at this 115 division, and I really, honestly think it's the only reason that she was the champion is by how large she was to the other women. When you look at JJ's fights, what she did when she first came into the UFC was unreal, but like, the Jessica Andrade she beat was not the Jessica Andrade that we even see Willie Zhang beat. Like, it's a totally different person. I think striking-wise, JJ always tends to have battles with people in striking. And this is that karate Muay Thai matchup that we always talk about.
True.
Michelle's game's growing every time. JJ's looks the exact same every time. Michelle does have a ground game, too. JJ has great takedown defense, so she's just going to try to keep it on the feet. I think Michelle Waterson is... I think the lines are off here. I don't understand. I feel like everyone's thinking back to the JJ of yesteryear and the Michelle Waterson of yesteryear. And you can say that Michelle Waterson has significantly gotten better every one of her last fights, where JJ looks like she capped. I know that's hard to say because JJ's like one of the goats of the female... You know, but we've seen this weight cut just become hard on her. So an already hard weight cut, and then you add just a couple cc's, that cc's her that's water out of her brain.
And what about the cc's that Michelle Waterson's taken in her butt cheeks? Boom!
Well, if you see Michelle Waterson's body, she is shredded like I've never seen her before.
Jackson Wink, Holly Holm steroids. Gerald Jones steroids. Just throwing all that kind of bullshit out there. Sorry, I had to. I don't want to besmirch anyone, but she has looked thicker than a Snicker as of late, for sure. And coincidences? I think not. But a lot of intangibles here. The fight might not even go on.
Like,
right
even
now.
MMA math, you say, well, Tecia Torres lost to JJ and beat Michelle Waterson. It was a long time ago, but if you look back at it, Tecia Torres, her only game plan was to keep going in and trying to take JJ down and get away from that distance. Michelle Waterson has better hands than Tecia Torres. I got JJ because it's a 5-round fight. Michelle Waterson knows what she wants to do. She has been saying it for some time. She wants to be the first mom champ in the UFC. If we can see Weili Zhang do that to Jessica Andrade, we can see Michelle Waterson KO Joanna Jędrzejczyk the same way Rose Namajunas did. There is no reason that I actually have Waterson KO round 3 right now.
Wow.
I don't like... I know we keep saying weight cuts. Everything's going to matter on this. I want to see how shitty Joanna looks. All that being said, I have Waterson KO. I think she figures out how to do it. I'm even going to move it up to round 2. But now stay with round 3. But if JJ comes in and she's allowed to weigh 123, 122, 121, if she Mackenzie Dern's us, flip the JJ. Go heavy in the paint. Put her on every card because it really depletes every chance that Michelle Waterson would have of doing something.
I agree with that. If she comes in heavy at all, I'll definitely be coming in on JJ. But I agree as well. The line's off. Minus 400 for JJ here is too much. You can't trust it. Not only might the play not actually happen, but it's just too absolutely sleep. I got a decision for JJ on DraftKings. You're going to end up paying $9,200 for Joanna against Waterson, $7,000 even. This is a 5-rounder. They both like to strike a lot. They both have high outputs. I could potentially see the stack. If not, I like them both in here on different cards.
I think people are going to be real surprised at Michelle Waterson.
I think people are too, and I actually like Michelle Waterson a little bit more on my DraftKings out of both fighters, honestly.
But I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great fight. I think Michelle Waterson's going to look tiny in there. I think she's going to look tiny in weigh-ins, but she's going to have to kind of fight in a similar style of Jessica Andrade, where she's going to have to stay a little closer to get out of the danger of Joanna's kicks. And that it's interesting because Joanna's number 3 range of not quite being kicks, but a long-reaching punch is kind of Michelle's kicking range. It's kind of weird that Michelle's going to have nothing in the outside range here against JJ. And but the other thing us talking about with both these strikers, Michelle, sneaky dangerous on the ground. Sneaky dangerous, like kind of underrated ground game. But anyone who does not think Joanna can lose here, you should look back at the Rose fights. Mm-hmm. I think those are the ones I'd pull from to be like, Michelle's going to have a similar game plan.
Sure. She's at the right place.
Even if she didn't just win, I even think the type of fighter that they are. And I just feel like Michelle's head has been on so straight since she has been this mom fighter. All moms, no moms.
Oh, is that the play? Because I feel like those have been doing fairly good for us.
Yeah, I think it's all moms, no moms. I think you go with Dern Michelle or the other lady who's fighting Dern and Joanna.
So definitely a stacked fight night we're going to have on ESPN. There's a ton of finishes for both of us on both sides. You got to keep up. You got to follow us along. We've got to see who's the best podcast pickers of them all out there.
Make sure. I think it's worth the follow just for the fight pick championships. And it's funny, if you're a fan of us, you can go and listen to these other shows and then talk shit to them or talk shit to their fans. It could be fun. Why not?
It definitely could be fun.
It could be good camaraderie.
Let's get it going out there. Thanks for the listens.
And that's all I got to say about that. Bye-bye.
Let me